Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're navigating the complex and, let's be honest, sometimes incredibly dense world of ESG reporting for the energy sector, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're cutting through all that noise. We're going to systematically unpack the SASB standard for fuel cells and industrial batteries, or as it's known, SR-FC. All right, let's just dive right in.
Now think all batteries are classified the same? Think again. There's this massive misconception out there that sustainability reporting is just a one-size-fits-all approach for literally anything with a positive and a negative terminal. Well, spoiler alert, it really isn't. And a misclassification error here? Yeah, that can completely derail your entire ESG compliance strategy.
To avoid those costly errors, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll define the RFFC boundary. Second, we'll look at the crucial exclusions. Third, we'll dive inside the specific industrial metrics. And finally, we'll talk about getting your reporting right.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, defining the RRFC boundary.
So, who is this standard actually built for? The RFFC classification specifically targets entities that manufacture equipment for heavy energy production and storage. We're talking about the big stuff here, from commercial business applications all the way up to large-scale utility energy projects. These are typically global companies selling into a global marketplace. Basically, if your company builds those massive battery banks that stabilize a city's power grid, this is definitely your standard.
But understanding what's inside the boundary is really only half the battle. Let's move to Section 2. The crucial exclusions.
Honestly, this is probably the most important part to get right to avoid misclassification. Picture this contrast. On one side, you've got those massive industrial and utility-grade batteries. Those are definitely included in RFC. But on the other side, see you manufacture batteries for an electric car chassis. You do not use this standard. That actually falls under auto parts, or TRAP. And what about that standard AA battery you use at home? Also excluded. That one falls under household and personal products. You've really got to get this categorical boundary right.
The SASB framework actually doesn't mince words about this at all. It explicitly states that this industry, quote, excludes fuel cells or batteries used in light automotive vehicle applications and non-industrial batteries for personal consumer use. Bottom line here, if you try to stuff consumer battery metrics into an RRFC report, auditors are going to flat out reject your data.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, inside the industrial metrics.
Those boundaries we just talked about exist for a reason. The sustainability risks for a giant industrial plant are wildly different from a consumer battery factory. If you're properly classified under RFFC, you have to track 5 core topics: energy management, workforce safety, product efficiency, end of life, and materials sourcing. Let's break down the key takeaways for each one. Starting with energy management. Look, manufacturing industrial batteries takes an immense amount of power. We're talking heavy cooling, ventilation, rigorous product testing. Because purchased electricity is such a massive expense, the standard requires you to report your total energy consumed in gigajoules. And you need to break that down by grid percentage versus renewable energy. In an industry with tight margins, energy efficiency isn't just a nice ESG metric to have, it's a critical indicator of your profitability. Next up is workforce health and safety, which is heavily driven by the total recordable incident rate, or TIIR. What's really fascinating here is the strict definition of an incident. We're not talking about a minor scrape. It's anything resulting in death, days away from work, restricted work, or medical treatment beyond basic first aid. And crucially, you have to calculate this rate for both your direct employees and your contract employees. No hiding contractor injuries off the books here. And beyond just the hard numbers, there's a strict qualitative requirement for assessing human health hazards. Building industrial batteries involves some seriously dangerous materials: solvents, corrosives, lead, arsenic, cadmium, sulfuric acid. The standard specifically demands that companies describe their efforts to monitor and reduce worker exposure. So things like testing workforce blood lead levels to prove you're actively mitigating chronic health impacts. All right, moving to topic 3, product efficiency. Think about it, you really can't integrate renewable energy into the global grid without incredible battery tech to store it. So the standard requires detailed quantitative disclosures here. You need to report on storage capacity, electrical and thermal efficiency, and operating lifetime. Improving these metrics lowers the barriers to adoption. So better efficiency isn't just good for the grid, it signals a massive competitive advantage. Topic 4 is product end of life. Obviously, improperly discarded industrial batteries pose massive environmental risks. A key metric you need to track is the percentage of products sold that are recyclable or reusable. And you have to be very careful to use the strict definitions here. Reusable means the product accomplishes a specific number of trips or uses for its exact original purpose. Recyclable, on the other hand, means it's diverted from the waste stream to be broken down into raw materials. Don't mix those two up. The final metric topic is material sourcing. You literally cannot build these technologies without critical materials like lithium, cobalt, nickel, platinum group metals, and rare earth elements. And because these are subject to really intense geopolitical tensions and supply chain risks, the standard requires a detailed explanation of how you manage those risks. Are you diversifying suppliers, stockpiling, investing in recycling? You need to spell it out.
Okay, we've covered the boundaries and the core metrics. Let's head into our final section. Section 4, Getting Reporting Right. Now, let's talk about the big picture. The ISSB actually assumed responsibility for the SASB standards back in August 2022. Because of this shift, mastering these specific RFC boundaries and metrics is absolutely essential for aligning with broader global reporting requirements. This really isn't just a niche, voluntary framework anymore. It's becoming the global financial reporting baseline.
And hey, the clock is officially ticking on this. The effective date for this updated standard is January 1, 2025, though early adoption is permitted. That means the time to audit your data collection systems and get everything aligned is right now. Which leaves us with one final critical question for you to take away today. Are your current data collection systems actually aligned with the ISSB's rigid industry boundaries? Think about it. If you're accidentally blending your light automotive battery data with your industrial utility data, your upcoming disclosures are going to be fundamentally flawed. So, take a hard look at your internal classifications before it's too late. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you in the next one.